And welcome back to another episode of Dogs on the Couch, where everybody's allowed to have an opinion. It does not matter if you played the game, you are watching. So you're allowed to have an opinion as well. The topic of today's episode will be, of course, none other than Shedeur Sanders. And should Kevin Stefanski be getting credit for Shedeur and his performances as well as his development? Let's get into it. Let me start off trolling. Yes, Kevin does deserve credit. Yes, he does. Start off trolling. Kevin deserves credit. You know what Kevin deserves credit for? And actually, I'm going to be 100%. It's part trolling, but it's part serious. Kevin deserves credit for going back on what he said, because when Dylan got concussed, which was the only reason that Shedeur was ever put in the game, it's because Dylan Gabriel got concussed. So Kevin Stefanski came out and said in the press conference, as soon as Dylan Gabriel clears concussion protocol, that he's the starter. So I give Kevin credit for not doing that dumb stuff, okay? Because he do a lot of dumb stuff, okay? So I give him credit for not, because if you had did that, then people wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't be able to give you credit. Like, they wouldn't be able to spin the narrative to give you credit for Shedeur. So I give you credit for not trotting the munchkin back out. Forgive me, Dylan. I'm not trying to, it's not like I don't like you, Dylan. I don't really have an opinion here or there about you. You're just short. So instead of trotting the brownie elf back out there to struggle to throw the ball 5 yards, you said, you know what? Even though at first week to week, at least you was like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we probably do want to let Shedeur go ahead and start another one. And then, I'll wait to, if he looked really, really bad, to take him out. You know what I'm saying? So I do give Kevin credit for not putting Dylan Gabriel back out there once Dylan Gabriel cleared concussion protocol. So I do give Kevin credit for that. What else does Kevin deserve credit for? Oh, he also deserves credit for seeming to learn how to actually say Shedeur's name now. So I give him credit for that as well. Yeah, that's about it. There's nothing else. There's nothing else that Kevin Stefanski should be getting credit for in the development of Shedeur Sanders. Man, if y'all don't get out of here with that trash, for all the people who want to be able to debunk this mess and debunk it real quick, real fast, I'm finna do it for you right here, right now on this channel. Thank you for joining me. Oh, I'd be forgetting to say this. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Okay, we want to grow this channel. We want to be able to disseminate real information to the public instead of the BS narratives that the Browns media like to spew to us. Okay, like for example, how Kevin Stefanski deserves credit for developing Shedeur Sanders. I don't want to hear that, because this is what they're saying. They're like, well, I mean, he's spending all this time after practice, and then, and Shedeur, he's in the room, in the meeting room with Kevin. He's in the office. I already said this on the last episode that I did. Myles Garrett Ben said that, like, this is the thing. Shedeur been doing that from the get-go. Like, he's always been the first person. They always said that when they walk past Kevin's office, they see him in there going over game film, asking questions, all this other stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, doing that kind of stuff. He's been doing that. He's been doing these things since the beginning. Even when Rex Ryan was trying to say, "Oh, well, sit at the front of the classroom," because that's that was, I guess, supposed to be the knock on why he was so far behind, because he's not paying attention in the classroom. He got his headphones on him, and then videos start to surface of him sitting in the very front row of the classroom next to Joe Flacco and Miles Garrett and all this, what I'm saying, sitting right in the front. So again, that debunked what people were saying there. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, what they don't understand, what the Stefanski supporters, and all of the anti-Shedeur people, what they don't understand is the Shedeur people never had this thing of, well, we just feel like Shedeur is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. Like, no, that's not what any of the Shedeur supporter people. Now, I'm not a Shedeurian, but I support Shedeur Sanders. I do. And what the the conscious-minded people have been saying the entire time is like, no, we don't think he Patrick Mahomes. We just think he better than Dylan Gabriel. That's what we've been saying all along. We don't think he Patrick Mahomes, but we think he better than Dylan Gabriel. And that's who y'all kept telling us was better. So much to the point where the Stefanski people forget this stuff. In OTAs and all this other crap that they was having going on, they at points had Shedeur throwing on a separate field. So the field where Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel and everybody else is at, the field that they at, he not even at that field. He on another field throwing to garbage cans and ball boys and media personnel or whoever else I guess they could find to run routes. I signed up, they wouldn't let me in because they said that they didn't like the way I be talking about the organization. Because I've signed up, I was going to catch a few balls from him since I found out he was throwing the garbage cans. I said, well, he might as well be able to throw to somebody who could really catch the ball. Instead, y'all had him throwing the garbage cans and player personnel. I don't know who he was throwing the ball to. Empty garbage cans. Just throwing the ball and see if you can land it into the empty garbage can over here on this completely different field all by yourself. Meanwhile, Dylan Gabriel getting first team reps the whole time. So again, here we are, giving Stefanski how's we giving him credit when, in that time when he could have just had Shedeur on the field with everybody else, like where everybody else was, he had him on a separate field working out. Like, I make that make sense. I don't understand. Make that make sense to us. Okay. Again, not only that, for the Stefanski supporters, how quickly they forget, because they're like, oh, but he's just doing such this great work, and he's so invested in the Shedeur Center. Like, this is the thing, man. We've seen this with our own eyes, and you keep telling us, don't believe what your eyes are showing you. Just believe what we're telling you. You're not allowed to think for yourself and use your own information that's clearly been put out. Because there's this thing called the internet, and it keeps automatic receipts. That's what these people don't understand. The internet keeps automatic receipts. You can't get rid of it. Even when you do try to scrub it, it'll pop up somewhere. It's like it's an automatic receipt. Don't y'all Stefanski people remember that Stefanski wouldn't even, until 3 weeks ago, Stefanski wouldn't even say his name. He wouldn't say the name Shedeur. He wouldn't say it. In fact, when they would ask him direct questions about Shedeur, hey, what about Shedeur and his development? What's going on with that? How are you getting along? How is he progressing? Shedeur. Kevin Stefanski will say, well, I mean, all of our young players, are just, they're working diligently. They're working hard. Dylan is doing an amazing job, working very hard and whoop, 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 whoop. Like, that's the answer that he would give. When they asked you directly about Shedeur, not only do you deflect and go to all of the players, but the player that you will call by name is Dylan Gabriel. You didn't have a problem saying Gage Larvin's name. You don't have a problem saying, Quinshawn Judkins' name. You don't have a problem saying Dylan Sampson's name. You don't have a problem saying Isaiah Bond's name. The only person that you had a problem saying their name and you wouldn't do it was Shedeur Sanders. And now the media, y'all want us to believe that he loves Shedeur so much. He loves him so much that 3 weeks ago he wouldn't even say his name. Y'all forget that, like, we can see this stuff, like we see it in real time. And respectfully, for all of the Stefanski supporters, just ask yourself this. If you have a coworker that you work directly with each and every day, and when you have conversations with them, let's just say you come in the morning, let's just say the guy's name is Bob. You come in, hey, good morning, Bob. And then Bob kind of look at you and, all right. You be like, hey, Bob, hey, man, what's going on, Bob? Hey, man, you know what I'm saying? Or if somebody asks you, hey, man, what about Bob? How do you work with Bob? Oh, man, I think Bob's great. Bob's a great guy, man. We work, we handle our business, you know what I'm saying? I don't really have no problems with Bob. But then when they go ask Bob about you, Bob won't say your name. Anytime they asking Bob something about you, Bob get to talking about everybody else that works in the department besides you. You gonna start eventually thinking to yourself, well, does Bob have a problem with me? Because it's like, I don't do anything but say nice stuff about Bob, and I don't have a problem with Bob. But it just seems like Bob won't even acknowledge me. I say, good morning, Bob. He won't even say good morning. And then when other people ask him, he won't even refer to me. Like, he act like I'm non-existent. He acts like I'm not there. He acts like they didn't just ask him a question directly about me. They ask him about me, and then he get to talking about all this other stuff. He don't address me. So, of course, you're going to start to think Bob might have a problem with me, especially if that fellow employee, let's take it a step further, if that's your boss. You always speaking so highly of your boss. Yeah, I love my job. My job is great. My job is awesome. I love this. You know what I'm saying? And then they ask your boss, after you putting in all this work, you're showing up 20 minutes early to work, you're staying after, and you have been punched out, you have been clocked out already, and then they'll be like, hey, man, we need you to do some woo, 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 and you'll be like, hey, no problem, I'll take care of it, and you do that without even being on the clock and getting paid for it, so you just working your butt off, and then they go ask your supervisor, hey, man, so what do you think about that guy right there? What do you think about Billy? And then the supervisor's like, well, I mean, all of our employees are, pretty good. They do a, pretty decent job. Julie over there is spectacular at what she does. I mean, she is awesome. Have you seen the numbers and how she crunches them? Have you seen her crunch those numbers? I mean, she's absolutely amazing. Well, wait a minute. We didn't ask you about Julie, though. We asked you about Billy. We didn't ask you about Julie and the numbers we asked you about this guy over here who show up 30 minutes before work every day. Julie ain't here early before work every day. Okay? In fact, Julie be taking hour-long lunches instead of 30 minutes like she's supposed to. Okay? Meanwhile, this guy right here, he done clocked out, and then we asked him to do some extra stuff. He still do it without clocking back in. So he working for free for us. And you mean tell me you won't even acknowledge this man? Would you continue working for a boss like that? I doubt it. I doubt you would. Would you think that boss likes you? I doubt it. I don't think you would. So please stop trying to sell us these ridiculous dreams like we can't see the stuff right there in front of us, man. Really quickly, because here we go. A lot of times it takes hearing the stuff from the horse's mouth, not just necessarily hearing it from a MFer on the couch. You know what I'm saying? A dog just sitting here on the couch, man. Like, a lot of times, it's hard to just, quote unquote, take my word for it. So we're going to listen to a lot of these individuals themselves, and then we're going to break this down and go through everything. We'll start with Kevin Stefanski himself. For everybody who's saying that, will the whiteboard work? Oh, because I forgot to mention this last time. So before I even play this video, Stefanski, I have to put this out there first because I forgot to say it the last time. In life, and some people going to take this the wrong way, you know what I'm saying? And they apply it to a certain demographic of people, just like the term mobile quarterback is usually applied to a certain demographic of people, okay? So I don't want this to be the case where you just apply this statement to a certain demographic of people, because that's not the truth. This is just true about humans, period, about individuals. No matter where you come from, no matter what walk of life you've been in, none of that. This is just true about humans, okay? Some humans learn better from sight, from looking at it. You can show them And then they learn best by just watching. When you show them, they just watch it. And it's like it processes well, and that's their best way of learning. That's a good way of learning for them. However, there are other individuals in life who learn best hands-on. There are other individuals in life who learn best by actually doing whatever it is that you're trying to show them. So, again, there are some people, when they pull that, let's say you're building something. Let's say you're building a coffee table. When they pull that coffee table out of the thing, some people go straight to the instructions. Let me read these instructions step by step and go step by step with the instructions and make sure I read the full instructions before I even start putting anything, before I start putting the first piece together. I want to read every piece of the instructions. I might even read it 2 or 3 times. There are people like that in life, and there's nothing wrong with that. Kudos to those people. If that's what helps them build the coffee table the correct way, by all means do that. However, there are other individuals in life that they'll pull that instruction manual out, and before they get to reading all the way through the instruction manual, they'll start taking a look at pieces and stuff like that and seeing if they could just kind of just put it together. You know what I mean? Well, all right, boom, boom, boom. I got this part put together. All right, boom, this part might let together. And then it may come to a specific point where maybe they get caught up. And it's like, ooh, wait a minute, I don't know what to do right here. Okay, now let me go to the instructions. Now let me look at the instructions because there's something about it that I didn't get. Now let me look at the instructions. All right, I look at the instructions. The instructions say apply this next time when I do it. Okay, boom. Now let me take this right quick, what I just saw here, and I'm going to go here and physically again, now I get to apply what I just seen from the instructions. Now I get to apply that here. Okay, there are some people that learn best by doing, like actually just doing, as opposed to, well, I'm just going to sit here and listen, and this is how I'm going to learn. Everybody doesn't learn like that. Everybody doesn't learn like that. A lot of people learn hands-on. There are some people where if you're teaching them math, some people can learn the math with you just writing it on the chalkboard and they just watching you. Other people have to actually write it down themselves and work the problem out themselves in order to get it, in order for it to register the proper way for them, as opposed to just watching you write it on the chalkboard. Some people don't learn like that. So respectfully, maybe Shedeur is just the type of player who can learn better and quicker and faster in real time, as opposed to trying to learn it off of a board. Because in his mind, he probably thinking to himself like, man, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but like it's all of these different questions and all of these different dynamics with this board stuff. Like if I just get out there and I do it, if I take a bad sack, you coaching me on the whiteboard saying, okay, if this happens and this guy shoots this gap, you don't want to move backwards and take the sack. Okay, that's great doing that on the whiteboard. That's great. But the only way that he's really going to be able to get this understood is to be out there and have the reps where you're doing that. Some other individuals, not Dylan apparently, but some other individuals may just be able to pick that up by just the whiteboard or the chalkboard, and that's all they need. Shedeur might just not be one of those people. There should be nothing wrong with that, okay? Not to mention, again, really quickly, because I said about Dylan, if Kevin was doing such this great job at developing quarterbacks and, with the chalkboard and all this other stuff, the chalkboard work is so developmental, the chalkboard work, why wasn't he able to develop Dylan Gabriel? And then people say, oh, well, that's because, Dylan just didn't have the physical, tools to go with. Okay, so then if you knew that, it's not like he got any shorter after you drafted him. You knew he didn't have the physical tools to begin with. But you just loved his processing ability because he was processing on this whiteboard so great. But then you get out there in the game and then you struggle with that processing ability because the game is not the chalkboard. Them is two totally different things. So again, even if you want to just say, oh, well, just Dylan just doesn't have the tools. Okay, well, Deshaun Watson had the tools. Why you ain't coach him up? He had the physical tools, meaning you're tall enough, your arm is strong enough, all of this. He had the physical tools. Why you ain't coach him up? I'm just wondering why you didn't coach him up. Why you didn't coach up the other 30 quarterbacks that have been through here? Josh Dobbs that we had for once. Jacoby Brissett. Why you didn't coach him up to the point where he's a serviceable starting NFL quarterback and we can move forward with him? Why you ain't do that with Jameis Winston? Why you ain't get with Jameis Winston and put him on that whiteboard, on that chalkboard, and show him how to stop throwing interceptions? If you're so great at developing quarterbacks and that you could develop a quarterback in a matter of 3 weeks, you go from not saying his name to you could fully develop him in 3 weeks. That doesn't make any sense, especially when we're saying that the development is, well, it wasn't the reps, him getting reps with the first team or anything like that. It was the fact that he needed to sit and look. And that's what helped him so much, because he needs to sit. And then when they bring up these quarterbacks that sit behind people, they be sitting behind Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Like, they be sitting behind Hall of Famers. It's only a couple that might be, you know what I'm saying? Or they sitting behind superstar quarterbacks. Or they sitting behind just solid NFL veteran quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? Like, Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre. Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers. Like, let's not do that. It sounds ridiculous. Let's not do that. The same way that it sounded ridiculous that you didn't want to give him any first team reps, knowing that all it would take was one play for Dylan Gabriel to get concussed, and then boom, Shedeur got to go in there. So what did it hurt to give him 3 reps at the end of the practice period? 1 to 3 reps at the end of the practice period, just in case the munchkin gets concussed and you got to go out there. Because we saying Dylan need all the reps because he's a rookie. Well, you're a rookie too. So this rookie's he needs all the reps in order for him to be serviceable. But we expect this other rookie to be able to come in on spot duty and look good with no reps. That doesn't make any sense. So again, for all the people who think that I'm just bashing on Kevin because I hate Kevin, which I don't hate Kevin as a person, I hate Kevin as a coach. Like, it don't have nothing to do with him as a person. I hate Kevin as a coach because of all the dumb decisions that he make and the fact that he contradicts himself quite a bit and then forces the Cleveland media to contradict themselves too. So really quickly, for all of the people with the whiteboard and the chalkboard talking all this other stuff, and Kevin Stefanski with the whiteboard, I want you to hear from Kevin Stefanski's mouth himself that the chalkboard is not the best way to learn and develop. That it's actually the real live in-game reps that's the most important. This is about to be Kevin Stefanski saying this, not me. Let's listen. Let's take a listen to Kevin Stefanski and what he has to say about what the most important stuff in development and growth and all that could be. Let's listen to him.
You want to have constant improvement in everything you're doing. There's moments in these games that come up that are hard to replicate in practice. You can talk through them on tape. You can talk through them in a walkthrough. And then you get the rep in a game, and that's the most valuable learning tool you can have. And I think he will only take all of that and use that to his development moving forward. Was it a mistake not to...
Did I hear that correctly? Wait a minute, man. I'm just for the sake of it, for the Stefanski people, let me play this one more time. Listen to Kevin and what he's saying. Listen to Kevin.
You want to have constant improvement in everything you're doing. There's moments in these games that come up that are hard to replicate in practice. You can talk through them on tape. You can talk through them in a walkthrough. And then you get the rep in a game, and that's the most valuable learning tool you can have. And I think he will only take all of that and use that to his development moving forward. Was it a mistake not to...
So this is Kevin himself saying, these moments come up in these games, and there's no way to recreate those moments in practice. And when you get to those in-game live reps like that, I feel like that's the most, important, learning tool, as far as, and I think he'll take that, as far as with his development going forward. So this is Kevin Stefanski saying out of his own mouth that the best tool for learning and development is the live in-game reps of situations that you can't recreate in practice. This is Kevin saying this. Okay, so watch this. So Kevin, if that's true, if that's the most important piece for learning and development, that's the most valuable piece for learning and development, is just these live in-game reps that you can't recreate in practice. If that's the most important part for the learning and the development, Why in the preseason when Shedeur had a chance to do a game-winning 2-minute drive, did you take him off of the field and put Tyler Snoop Huntley in? Because remember, you just said, we just heard you say that the most valuable part, important part for development and growth is them live in-game reps that you can't recreate in practice. So why did you take him out the game to put Snoop Huntley in for that last 2-minute drive? Explain that then, because that's contradictory to what you just said right here. Oh, okay. How about all of the times that you took Shedeur out in the red zone so that you could run the Wildcat? And this is before the Titans game. This was in the Raiders game. You was taking them out to run the Wildcat. When you get to the red zone, take them out, run the Wildcat. Well, why would you be doing that because he could be getting live game reps in the red zone. What to do in the red zone? He could be getting live game reps of that because you said that there's nothing more important in the development than them live game reps. That's what you said, Kevin. So why in the Raiders game was you taking him out and running the Wildcat every time we get to the red zone? Why not just leave him in and be like, you know what, let's see what he got. This is something that we can't recreate in practice. So let's let him have a go at it and see what he does and see how he does. And whether if he does good, then we'll point out what he did good and then, clean up whatever little things. And then if he does bad, then we can use this as a teaching/learning experience, because this is the best way to teach and learn and grow and develop, from his words. So why ain't you just leave him in? Same thing with the Tennessee Titans game. You got a chance to see, well, what can this kid do with the game on the line? 2-point conversion. Let's see what he can do, because we can't recreate this moment in practice. Being down 31-17 with 5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, and half the stadium done left because they feel like the game is over. And then here you come, throw after throw after throw after target precision pass to bring us back in the game. The stadium's on fire. The people that still left in the stadium, they cheer, they're going bananas, they're going nuts. We can't recreate this moment in practice. So why on earth am I taking you out to run? And like I said on the last one, if you just had just ran the Wildcat, just power, just Quinshawn, get the ball, run. Because that's what you had been doing. If you had just did that, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. You could have just did that, he get tackled, and stop short of the goal line, and you lose. I would have been completely fine with that, because I would have been like, that's what they've been doing. But the fact that you wanted to have him, it looked like you wanted to have him pitch the ball to Gage Larvin, who can't catch. He can't field kicks and punts. So he struggles to possess the ball. And you mean to tell me that that's who you want to pitch it to? You got a rookie snapping the ball to a rookie running back who's supposed to pitch it to another rookie who can't hold on to the ball, who we watch muff every other punt that he's supposed to field. And you're trusting him with the game on the line. He can't even field a fair catch. Just a fair catch. Just the ball, all I got to do, fair catch. Nobody can touch me. All I got to do is just catch. He can't even do that. But you expect him to be able to field this trickery pitch play with the defense. Who knows what the defense is about to be doing? You expect him to be able to field that? I don't. Instead, what I would rather do is go by what you said out your mouth, which is, well, let me go in and give Shedeur this live rep, because on the other one, the snap got fumbled. I don't know if it was his fault. I don't know if it was the center's fault. But you know what? We finna find out. I'm finna trot him back out there and do it again. So the play that we wasn't able to get off the last time, we finna run it again. We couldn't get it off last time, so it ain't like they know what we doing. But when you trot that Wildcat out there, they know what you doing. You either running the ball or it's a trick play. And truth be told, the trick play out of that, I wouldn't even be worried about it. Like, I wouldn't even care. Because you're the Browns. It's like the fact that I would think that you're going to execute this, you struggle executing just the regular plays. And I'm going to think you're going to execute a trick play? Have at it. Go ahead. Let me see it. Because I ain't seen it in the last 2 years. You 6 and 20-something. I ain't seen you execute these tricks, so go ahead and look stupid. I'm not worried about that. That's what I would be thinking as the defense. So again, that was Kevin Stefanski from his own mouth. So for all of the Stefanski supporters that love to want to say that, well, the success is mainly because of him sitting and watching and off the whiteboard and the chalkboard. No, your own coach that you keep trying to defend, he's the one saying that, well, no, there's nothing more valuable than the live game reps that you can't recreate in practice. He says that and then doesn't allow Shedeur to have those opportunities. But somehow he's developing him, though. He's got so much credit for developing him when he's doing the exact opposite of what he said is the most valuable part of the development. It doesn't make any sense, does it? I know. Now let's move on to the next. This is Zach Jackson. Let's catch him up in some lies and some stupidity. Let's catch him up in some lies and some stupidity here. Let's hear what Zach Jackson has to say about these situations.
Pick himself, either of the quarterback picks, right? They knew before Deshaun's injury that this thing was sunk. They're in there every day, right? It was time to put a plan in motion. They went out publicly for months and searched and studied and interviewed and evaluated, and they came back with Dillon Gabriel. That Kevin's name is on it. That is not just on Kevin Stefanski.
Oh, yeah.
So here Zach Jackson is trying to peddle a narrative for Kevin, saying, well, no, it was an organizational decision to get Dillon Gabriel. That's they're pinning it on Kevin, but that's not just on Kevin. Yes, it is, buddy. Let's look at, let's just do this. Let's just take a look at Jimmy Haslam. When Jimmy Haslam gave the fattest, biggest contract in the world to a quarterback, did he give it to a quarterback that reminds you of Dillon Gabriel? No, he didn't. He was desperate to have that quarterback. He was desperate to have Deshaun, because Deshaun had already said, no, I don't want to be there. And then Jimmy said, all right, I'm going to put another zero on the end of the check. I bet you want to be here now. And Deshaun was like, yep, I sure do. So if you saying the organization, so that means Jimmy Haslam, D. Podesta, who's gone, and Andrew Berry. That's the organization. Okay, D. Podesta gone. Okay, he's up out of here. So that only leaves Andrew Berry and Jimmy Haslam. And what I'm saying is, if I'm looking at Jimmy Haslam and what type of quarterback he likes, because if he doesn't like that kind of quarterback, he wouldn't have gave him so much money. So clearly he likes that kind of quarterback, okay? Which is a guy who's tall, got the physical attributes and all of that old kind of stuff. He don't like the short midget, baby hand super processor. Because if that was the case, that would have been one of the type of quarterbacks that he was throwing all this money at. But it wasn't. So it's clear as day that that's not Jimmy Haslam's pick. It's not. I'm sorry. And then we'll get to, because I'm finna play the next clip, we're going to get to how we know it's Andrew Berry's pick. Okay? It is, and it's definitely 100% Andrew Berry's pick. Not only just from the way that you see them operate with each other, meaning Andrew Berry and Shedeur Sanders, because Andrew Berry be down on the sideline and stuff like that when Shedeur playing. He was never down there when Dillon Gabriel was playing. I mean, you could tell us that don't mean nothing, but I mean, why would he be doing that? Like, why? If Andrew Berry had just as much to do with picking Dillon Gabriel as he did with Shedeur, why he went down there on the sideline when Dillon Gabriel out there? Why he not giving Dillon Gabriel hugs and dapping him up and all this other kind of old stuff? Why he not doing that with him? Why he not doing that with Dillon? If he just had just as much to do with Dillon as he did with Shedeur, why he not doing that? Oh, I know, because he didn't pick him. That was Kevin Stefanski. Stefanski wanted him. You can hear by the way Stefanski spoke of Dillon Gabriel, dubbing him a supercomputer. I've never heard a coach, and I done heard Harbaugh, hype up his quarterbacks and stuff like that. I done heard other players hype up their quarterbacks, like Mark Ingram. That's big trust, you know what I'm saying? When he was talking about Lamar Jackson and hyping him up, I've heard a lot of hype stuff. I've never heard somebody call their quarterback a supercomputer, especially not the head coach. Because if I was Dillon Gabriel, when I heard that clip of Kevin Stefanski trying to refer to me as a supercomputer, I would have went to Kevin myself and I would have been like, hey, yeah, you got to walk that back, bro. Supercomputer? Bro, we can't do that. Because the instant that I go out here and I don't make the right read or I make a bad throw, they finna bring up this supercomputer stuff that you just said. Dude, I'm a rookie, man. How am I a supercomputer already? Like, I'm a rookie. Please, man, don't be putting that target on my back. Why are you calling me a supercomputer? That's crazy. The only person I think you could have been referred to as a supercomputer in football is probably Peyton Manning with that big head that he got. And he can, he's just so good at dissecting the defense before the play even start. Now that's a supercomputer. Peyton Manning, that's a supercomputer for you. Not no Dylan Gabriel. So that's for starters. You hear him talk about Dylan and say he's a supercomputer, but then Shedeur, he won't even say his name. Not only will he not say his name, but after he won't say his name, and you ask him a question directly about Shedeur, he won't say Shedeur's name, and then he'll tell you more about Dylan. But you telling me that, he loves Shedeur so much. Stop that. It doesn't make any sense, man. And the fact that you're trying to make it make sense makes you look retarded. It makes you look slow. It makes you look like you can't, like you have, your comprehension skills are absolutely terrible. That's what it make it look like. Let's hear a little bit more of Zach Jackson spewing these false narratives. Again, when it comes to Stefanski and Shedeur and Gabriel and how all of this stuff went down. Let's listen to Zach Jackson a little bit more with his ridiculous takes, and we can debunk it.
I mean, he's the head coach. He's in charge of the offense, and he and Shedeur have put in a lot of time. So that's what was always silly. Like, Kevin made his choices, and the organization made the choice to give Dylan Gabriel more developmental reps than Shedeur when it was obvious that the ceiling was right in front of him, right? But, like, since the guy came in with no practice reps and falling behind and always being a developmental guy, and now he's got to play, like, there's clearly been some growth there. Yeah. So I think as the head coach and an offensive-minded head coach, he deserves. We're not going to know unless we are Kevin or Tommy Rees, who gets the most credit, what's really gone on, what really went on in September, what really went on last Wednesday. But I think you'd be silly to not, just because you're mad at Kevin or you think Kevin should be out of here, and that's a fine thought. But I think you'd be silly to not give him some sort of credit for that.
Trying to parse out.
No, we think you're silly for trying to give him credit for that, because if you peep what he said in the beginning, he want to use this organization term. He want to keep using that, and that's not true. Yeah, he has to keep pushing that narrative, though, because if he don't, then none of what he's saying makes any sense. It still don't make no sense, but he trying to make it make sense. The organization wasn't the ones who said, yeah, let's keep putting Dylan Gabriel out there over Shedeur Sanders. That wasn't the organization. Why are you lying? That wasn't the organization. I'm sorry. First of all, that ain't Jimmy Haslam's job. That ain't Andrew Berry's job. The job, the person who get to decide who starts and who plays is Kevin Stefanski. And again, for all the Stefanski people who love to say, well, he doesn't have any control, he can't do anything. Okay, well, if he don't have no control over nothing and he can't do anything, then why are we giving him credit for developing Shedeur? Because he don't have no control over nothing. He can't do anything. He don't have any control who gets to play or how much they get to play or what players get picked. He don't have no control over nothing. So clearly he don't have no control over developing Shedeur then. So if he do got some type of control, if you want to say he developing Shedeur, that means he got some type of control or something. That's what that would mean. That would mean that it ain't the uppers that's in charge. That's what that would mean. You trying to tell me the organization chose to put Dylan Gabriel out? No, they didn't. They kept putting him up. No, they didn't. That's part of the reason why Jimmy Haslam came out and said, hey, yeah, we're going to see both quarterbacks this year. Because he probably already knew in his mind, like Kevin going to do his hardest to not have a chance for Shedeur to get out there. Because we do know, like, Stefanski never just, like, chose to start Shedeur. He didn't choose that. Andrew Berry they got rid of Kenny Pickett. He traded Joe Flacco so that you didn't have a choice. You didn't have a choice. It wasn't like you just picked him over Pickett and Flacco. Mind you, Pickett over there in Las Vegas, and as bad as Geno Smith is playing, they still won't start Kenny Pickett. But you mean to tell me that same Kenny Pickett was supposed to be the starter here? He was the best guy here? Kenny Pickett ain't beating out Geno Smith, and Geno Smith is terrible. And Kenny Pickett can't even get over it. He can't even start over him. But he was supposed to be the best player. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So it was not the organization's decision to keep sending Dylan Gabriel out there over Shedeur. No, it wasn't, my guy. You need to get your act together, because that doesn't make any sense. None whatsoever. And last but not least, what we finna put out here is, him, again, with this whole who picked who, and, how the narratives are changing. Y'all the only ones changing the narratives. All of the Shedeur people, we've said the same thing the entire time, which is Shedeur ain't so far behind that he don't even know how to pick up a football, and he can't read an NFL defense, and he's incompetent, and he can't slide the protections, and all this other stupid stuff. He can't manage the motions. All this other stupid, the playbook is Mandarin. He can't understand Mandarin. He can't read Mandarin. That's what y'all said. And we like, nah, bro. Like, come on, man. He had a former NFL head coach as offensive coordinator in college. Last year he was in college, bro. So, I mean, it can't be that hard. Not to mention his dad played in the NFL. Like, I mean, even if he is a little bit behind, he can't be that far behind. Y'all may seem like he's so far behind you can't see him in the rearview mirror. He's so far behind. He's just not ready. He's just not ready. He's not ready. He's not ready. We heard he's not ready all the way up until he had to go in the game. He had to start. He had to get a full week's prep with the ones because Dylan Gabriel was in concussion protocol. He had to. We heard that he wasn't ready all the way up until he had to start. He had to get the first team. There was no choice. You couldn't put Dylan out there anymore because he was concussed. All the way up until then, we was told he was light years behind and he wasn't ready. That's what you told us. But all of a sudden, in 3 short weeks, he went from he can't read Mandarin to he's speaking it fluently. Like he got, you know what I'm saying? Like Kevin Stefanski is hooked on phonics and he just got him, he got him speaking Mandarin in 3 weeks. Stop it. The point was, it was never that hard for him to understand from the jump. You just had to put the time, energy, and effort into the kid. That's it. That's all you had to do. And give him the live reps. Give him the live reps, the practice reps with the ones, as well as the live game reps. That's all we've been saying all along. That's all he needed. That's all we was trying to see, is just put him out there and let us see. If you telling us he's so bad, why won't you put him out there and let us see how bad he is? And then what do you know? When you put him out there, he don't look bad at all. He actually looks great. Really great. In the game that he had against the Titans, no other rookie has put up numbers like that this year, when all these other quarterbacks supposed to be better than him. Let's listen to Zach Jackson try to peddle another narrative in regards to Andrew Berry and saying, oh, no, Andrew Berry didn't pick him. Well, yes, he did, and I'm finna prove it. But let's listen to Zach Jackson first.
Is that for 6 months, everybody was saying that neither Stefanski or Berry wanted Shedeur based on their reaction on the video. And all of a sudden, in the last couple of weeks, there's been a change in the narrative that Andrew Berry wanted Shedeur and Kevin Stefanski did
because there was one video put out where Andrew was hugging Shedeur.
Yeah,
Shedeur
which is weird.
Right?
When you get, I have said, when you get that one, Tyvus, when you get that, hey, that we together forever.
And that's G. Bush and Tyvus Powell, kind of, Andrew Berry and Shedeur, like when you get that dap, you get that strong dap, it's like, that hit different. You know what I'm saying? When you give that strong dap to somebody, that strong, firm handshake, it hit different. You could tell that there's a relationship there. It ain't just high and by and passing. You get that strong dap, you get that strong dap, and you bring them in for the hood like that, Oh, we locked in. Oh, we got a relationship. We do. We got a relationship. And then Zach Jackson, who's supposed to know so much, apparently he doesn't, because he's saying that the only reason, because first of all, it was always said that Shedeur was Andrew Berry's pick, and I'm finna prove that. It was always said that was Andrew Berry's pick. It didn't want to become dicey what the one guy was saying, well, here recently the narrative. No, that was y'all changing the narrative. Y'all was trying to change the narrative to Kevin Stefanski like Shedeur, and he's been on board with Shedeur all along, and woo, woo, woo. And so in order to do that, you kind of got to move Andrew Berry to the side and act like he ain't really want Shedeur all like that. Nope, that's not the case. Sorry, that's not the case, buddy. That's definitely 100% not it, my man. So for Mr. Zach Jackson, oh, well, you know, just because of one video that surfaced, you know, of him hugging Shedeur, you know what I'm saying? And then other dude, well, that's weird. First of all, it's not weird. Like, it's not weird, especially if you got a relationship with the guy. The only reason you could probably consider it weird is because he hugged Shedeur and he ain't hugged the Munchkin. Okay? So again, that just lets me know that he probably drafted Shedeur and he didn't draft the Munchkin. Okay? That's just thinking off the top of my head, just trying to use the logic, if you will. You know what I'm saying? And then there's not just one video. Going back to the preseason, Andrew Berry was down on the sideline chopping it up with Shedeur hugging him. So it's not just one video, it's multiple videos of him chopping it up with Shedeur, standing side by side with him, giving him strong dap, hugging him. I've never seen a GM give a 5th round draft pick that much time. Be around him that much. It's a 5th round pick. Who cares? And you trying to tell me that Andrew Berry didn't even want him. But we know that's false. You trying to tell me he didn't. So if he didn't want him, why is he giving him dap and hugs? You sound dumb. You sound stupid. Like you grasping at straws. You just scrapping and scraping. Last but not least, we finna debunk that. Like we just finna just debunk that whole thing altogether. That's just saying that, oh, well, no, the only reason that anybody is saying that, you know, Andrew Berry, you know, the only reason they're saying that is because of this video that surfaced. I mean, you know, that's it. You know what I mean? And that's weird. Well, no, how about this, Mr. Zach Jackson? Because clearly you missed this part right here, what I'm getting ready to play. Clearly you missed this in your research or how you've been keeping track with the team, with the Browns all year long or whatever. Clearly you missed this part right here. This is the owner, Jimmy Haslam, describing the whole Shedeur situation and how it went down and how he got picked and who picked him, as well as a couple other things as far as structurally. Because remember, everything has always been, well, it's a collaborative effort. It's a collaborative effort. It's a collaborative effort. This was one of the first times right here where Jimmy Haslam, instead of doing that collaborative effort thing, he started pinpointing stuff as far as who's responsible for what. So let's just listen to him. Because remember, we just heard Zach Jackson say, no, well, the only reason that they're saying that now is because a video surfaced of Andrew Berry hugging him. Well, let's just listen to Jimmy Haslam for a hot second. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he is the owner of the team or whatever. So let's just hear what he got to say.
We have good process, okay? And if you'd have told me, let's see, we picked him on Saturday, right? Friday night driving home, y'all are going to pick Shedeur. I would say that's not happening. But we had a conversation early that morning, and then we had a conversation later that day. I think we had the right people involved in the conversation. At the end of the day, that's Andrew Berry's call. Andrew made the call to pick Shedeur. Just like who's going to start or what play we're going to call is Kevin's call. But that's Andrew's call. He made the call.
That is the owner of the team. And this is like, this ain't something that just happened recently. This way at the beginning of the season. This way, long time ago. Long time ago. That's the owner himself being very definitive. Very definitive. He said he had some conversations. He felt like he had conversations with the right people. Kevin might not have been included in those conversations. We don't know. But Haslam said he felt like he had the right conversations with the right people. He might not even have no conversations with Dee Podesta. And that might be why Dee Podesta ended up leaving later on in the year. You know what I'm saying? Just took a flyer to get on up out of here. You know what I'm saying? That way it ain't messy because I'm going to have to fire you. So Jimmy said he had discussions with the proper people. And then he said at the end of the day, that's Andrew Berry's call. Andrew Berry picked Shedeur. So Andrew Berry is the one who wanted Shedeur. He didn't say Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski. That ain't what he said. He said Andrew Berry wanted Shedeur. So by process of elimination, that means Kevin Stefanski had to be the one that wanted Dillon Gabriel. Because Shedeur and Dillon Gabriel are two polar opposites. Dillon Gabriel is a carbon copy of Kevin Stefanski. Shedeur Sanders is the exact opposite of Kevin Stefanski. So the owner himself is the one that's telling you, well, Andrew Berry is the one who's responsible for selecting Shedeur Sanders. He's the one. And again, when you do stuff like this, people be like, oh, I mean, you know, we don't know. They lie so much. How can you believe Jimmy Haslam? I mean, Haslam, how can you believe him? It's like, okay, but then you wanted us all to believe the Browns when they was the Browns, you know, the stuff that was coming from the Browns when they was telling us that Dylan Gabriel was better than Shedeur Sanders. And it's clearly that's false. So we were supposed to believe that, but we can't believe Jimmy Haslam when he says that Andrew Berry picked Shedeur. We can't believe that, though. But we can believe when they tell us, even though our eyes are showing us something different, the fact that they just telling us that Dylan Gabriel is better, well, we have to believe that. But when Jimmy Haslam himself is telling us that Andrew Berry picked Shedeur, oh, well, we can't believe that. Yes, we can. And Haslam told you who's responsible for who picks, who plays, and who starts. He said that's Kevin's decision. So, Mr. Zach Jackson, when you saying that the organization made the decision to send Dylan Gabriel, you're lying. Kevin is the one who's responsible for that. That's what the owner said, flat out. So you don't own the team. I'm sorry, dude. As much as you feel like you might know, you don't own the team. The owner of the team said that the person who's responsible for who starts and who plays is Kevin Stefanski. That's who's responsible for who starts and who plays. So who's responsible for trotting Dylan Gabriel out there every week, telling everybody that he gives them the best chance to win? That would be Kevin Stefanski, not the organization. Let's stop that. That's Kevin. And then last but not least, the reason we, again, cannot give Kevin all of this credit or really any credit at all for the development of Shedeur, even though he's the one who decides who gets to play and who gets to start, he didn't decide that about Shedeur. See, it'd be different if, you know, he let Dylan do his little 6 weeks and then, you know, he was just like, all right, look, I done seen enough. He wouldn't have to say this in the press conference. But when they asked about who's the starter, he could just shift it like, well, you know, I don't know. You know, we'll find out. We'll see. You know, I'm evaluating each day to day. And then you could have just shifted to Shedeur one day. You know what I'm saying? You know what? We're going to give him a role this week and just see what he do. It's not to say that he the starter guaranteed going forward, but I'm just going to give him a shot and see how it goes, man. I mean, you know, like how everybody was saying, because we was watching Dylan and seeing that he was trash. So we like, let's just give him a shot and just see, give him a chance. What could it hurt to just give him a chance? And Kevin, you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it until Dylan Gabriel got concussed and you didn't have a choice but to put Shedeur in there. And the reason that you stuck with Shedeur is because you know that you would have been crucified if the following week you fixed your lips to say that Dylan Gabriel gave you a better chance to win after everybody watched Shedeur Sanders play in that Vegas game. And it wasn't perfect by far. He didn't just have these outstanding numbers and all this other stuff. But your eyes aren't lying to you. We all watched him play, and we watched him make throws that Dylan Gabriel could never make. Dylan Gabriel could only dream of making. We watched Dylan Gabriel. You talk about the Dylan Sampson pass, and it was a screen. And okay, but we watched Dylan Gabriel throw a screen pass it's supposed to be thrown to a wide open guy in Corley, and he airmails the ball to the third row. Like, I mean, standing right there, the guy's standing 7 yards away from him, and he airmails the ball into the third row in the stands. We all saw that. So if you was to have dare fixed your lips to trot Dylan Gabriel back out there saying that he gave us the best chance to win, after we all saw that, you know that you would have been, there's no way, your head coach, you would have been the next, actually you probably would have been viewed as worse than Freddie Kitchens. The collusion talks and the sabotage talks would have been at an all-time high. And not only that, the narratives that they're trying to push now about you being the reason that Shedeur is developing, they wouldn't have been able to push that narrative. Because we would have saw what we saw, and then you would have definitively chose yet again to, after seeing it in a real game, so ain't no more, well, it's practice, or, well, it's the preseason, ain't no more of that. We saw it in a real game, and you mean to tell me you still picking Dylan over him? Oh, yeah, buddy is retarded. I'm sorry. And there's no narrative that would have been able to save you from that. So you just, you bit the bullet and said, you know what, man, all right, F it, man. I'm just going to go ahead and start this clown. You know what I'm saying? I really don't want to do it, but I don't have a choice at this point. I literally don't have a choice. And then in closing, for all of the people who, because again, like I say, I don't necessarily know, man, as far as, he's the franchise quarterback right now. Now, I mean, am I leaning towards that? Yes. Heck yeah, I sure am, because I don't understand what really much else we have to see. But everybody be like, oh, well, he only played the Titans. It's only the Titans. What did he do? It was the Titans. It was the Titans. He's got some real teams coming up, so let's see what he does against those real teams. This is how I know people don't be watching football, and they don't keep up. Like, they're not watching football. They just, watch TikTok. They watch the highlights on TikTok and then come up with their stuff from that. So everybody who wanted to kill the Titans like they was nobody. Now, mind you, what I'm going to speak about right now is passing defenses, because that's what Shedeur does. He passes the ball. He's not a running back. So I want to go by the defenses, where they rank as far as their passing defense is concerned. Because if I actually go by total defense, it's even worse. Like, it's even worse, the point that I'm finna make. So the Titans passing defense, they're ranked 23rd in the league. They're ranked 23rd out of 32. That's the Titans passing defense. The Bears is the team that you have coming up. You want to know where the Bears passing defense is ranked? Because the Titans are so terrible. They're just so terrible. They're terrible. You want to know where the Bears passing defense ranks? 21st. So the Titans passing defense is 23rd. The Bears is only 21st. So they're literally 2 spots ahead of the Titans. So they're not much better. You just thinking, it's the Bears and they have an 8-4 record. That's what you thinking. So you like, their defense has to be good. Well, I mean, they ain't much better than the Titans. They're literally 2 spots better than the Titans. That's not much. Let's look at the other teams that we play down the stretch. Now, the Bills is the anomaly. The Buffalo Bills, they're the anomaly because their passing defense is ranked number 10. So they are the one team that is the anomaly in the 4 remaining teams. The Buffalo Bills, their passing defense is ranked 10th. But let's look at the others. The Steelers, their passing defense is ranked 27th. That's actually worse than the Tennessee Titans. So if he goes out there and he balls out against the Steelers, and then y'all try to be like, oh, well, it was against the Steelers, so it matters. Technically, the Titans' passing defense is not even technically, statistically, factually. The Titans' passing defense is better than the Steelers' passing defense. And then let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, who are, they rank 31st out of 32. Their passing defense is 31st. So out of the 4 remaining teams, you got the Bills, the Bears, the Steelers, and the Bengals. The only team's passing defense that ranks significantly better than the Titans is the Bills. That's it. The Bears are only 2 spots ahead of them, and the Steelers and the Bengals, well, they're significantly worse. They're significantly worse passing defenses. And then if we use total defense, it's still the same thing. The only anomaly is the Buffalo Bills defense. That's the only anomaly. All the other teams that were just named, they're still in similar spots. In fact, with the Steelers and the Bengals, they actually drop down lower. It gets worse. Like when you add their total defense in, it gets worse. They rank even worse. So you would actually want to just stick with their passing defense and not add the running defense in there too. Because when you add the running defense and make it the total defense, it gets worse. They rank even worse. So my thing is this idea of, well, let's see what he does against these other guys. Well, the only team that you can say let's see is the Bills. That's it. Because them other teams, well, they statistically and factually, passing-wise, defense rank worse than the Titans. So technically, like, it's better, like what he did against the Titans is it's a better sample. Because they have the better, statistically, they have the better passing defense. Not to mention, if you were just watching the game, the only pass where, it's like these guys just running wide open, the Jerry Jeudy pass, he was pretty open. But like the Njoku catch, somebody was breathing on the Njoku neck. The Fannin catch to potentially, the last touchdown score where you could have tied the game if you had called the correct play. That Fannin catch, he wasn't wide open. He wasn't wide open. That's throwing a perfect ball where your man jump, catch the ball, boom. With the man tackling him. Like, it's not like we was just like our receivers were just running so wide open because the Titans defense is so terrible. That's how I know y'all wasn't watching the game. That's why I don't like to listen to these Cleveland media people and these beat reporters and beat writers that admit that they don't watch the games. Jason Lloyd be admitting that he don't watch other teams' games. When they be like, "Hey man, did you end up seeing the Flacco game?" I didn't watch the game. I didn't watch the game. But then you will want to comment on the team and how they are. Well, let's see what he does against the Bengals. That's a better team. Well, no, they're not. The passing defense is not better than the Titans. Sorry. And maybe if you watched some of these other games or kept up with some of these other teams, perhaps if you even kept up with your own team a little bit better, maybe you'd be a little bit more knowledgeable and you would know what you're talking about. So, again, for all of the, Stefanski people, I'm sorry, man. All of your points are easily rebutted. It's very easy to debunk those things, man. So, in closing, if we want to give Kevin credit for anything in Shedeur's development, let's give him credit for being smart enough to not stick with that whole, well, as soon as Dylan Gabriel clears concussion protocol, he's the starter. Good job, Kevin, for not standing on that. Good job. You get credit for that. And you've learned how to say Shedeur's name. You get credit for that as well. So you get credit for not trotting the munchkin back out there after we all watch Shedeur be good. And you get credit for finally being able to form your lips and your mouth and your tongue to be able to say Shedeur's name. You don't get any credit for anything other than that, buddy. Dogs on the couch, signing off.